This is the second half of the Respondeo from question 76, article 1 of the first part of the Summa. And let's just go on through it. Quidam autem dicere voluerunt, quod intellectus unitur corpori ut motor. So he's going to go in, he's going to say, here's one way that some people, quidam, consider the soul to be. And he's actually going to refute this for 4 reasons. It's very thorough. Et sic ex intellectu et corpore fit unum, ut actio intellectus toti attribui posit. So he's going through and he's saying that if it's united as the motor, the mover of the body, which is the motum, or the moved, that's why you can attribute its actions to the whole thing, because it's the mover of the thing. Sed hoc est multipliciter vanum, multipliciter, specifically in 4 ways. Primo, quidem. Don't confuse quidem with quidam. They are different words. Very much so. Quidem, of course, means indeed. Quidam means some people, something like that. So primo quidem, quia, and all of these are going to start with quia. They're all a because. So it is refutable for these 4 reasons. First, because, da, 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 da. Second, because, da, 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 da. So that's what that quia is doing there. Intellectus non movit corpus, nisi per appetitum, cuius motus presupponent operationem intellectus. Appetitum here, the appetites, he's talking about tendencies towards some good. So he's basically, think of it as here, probably can be understood as like a reason for action. Non ergo, quia movetur Socrates ab intellectu ideo intelligit, sed potius e converso, quia intelligit ideo ab intellectu movetur Socrates. So he's setting up what the cause and effect. He's saying that this ordering of cause and effect, quia movetur, so because da 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 da, therefore da da da. He's saying no. Potius can mean rather. Said potius e converso, but rather the opposite. Quia intelligit ideo ab intellectu movetur Socrates. And that's the first reason why it cannot be said that unitur corpore ut motor. The second reason, secundo, quia cum Socrates sit quoddam individuum, etc. Cum, I tell my students, the first thing we learn, cum means when. Cum with a subjunctive, like sit, often carries the force of like a cause. And so it's going to be used a few times in this passage, and it's going to mean like since, or it's going to mean because, but I think since feels a little bit less forceful. And so I would translate it as since. I think every time it shows up. I'll try to remember to make a note of it as we continue. Cum Socrates sit quoddam individuum in natura cuius essentia est una. So it's a little bit confusing, but natura cuius essentia est una is almost just like one big complex noun. A nature whose essence is one. Basically, he's saying because human isn't a, well, what would be the best way to describe it? Probably it's something like Socrates isn't a being in the way that like a family is a being. A family is not actually one thing. it's made up of a bunch of separate beings. He's saying because Socrates isn't like that, basically. Si intellectus non sit forma eius, sequitur quod sit praeter essentiam eius. I think that's just fairly straightforward Latin. Sequitur quod, it follows that. So it's si is if, sequitur quod is kind of like then, and it gets a subjunctive after it instead of an indicative. Et sic, so another thing that follows, intellectus comparabitur ad totum Socratem sicut motor ad motum. Again, I think that's fairly straightforward Latin. Comparabitur is future, just be okay with the future feeling like a subjunctive. Comparator could have worked just fine. The only reason future might be better here is because it's in sequence. The sequitur sit is prior to the intellectus comparabitur in the way that we would like reason it out. You would understand that which is sit, then you would understand the intellect being comparabitur. But really, I don't think there's a huge difference in meaning. So it's setting up. There would be this really extreme distinction. Intelligere autem est actio quiescens in agente. So here he's saying, no. That's not how that works. He's saying the intelligere quiescens. It is not transiens, it quiescens. It isn't like heat. So think of a fire, calefactio. Think of a fire. The heat of a fire does not stay in the fire. It goes to other things. He's saying the intellect is not like that. Non ergo intelligere potest attribui Socrati propter hoc quod est motus ab intellectu. Intelligere potest, non intelligere potest attribui Socrati propter hoc quod. Propter hoc quod is a nice fancy way of saying quia. And that's just, it's worth noting. Tertio, third reason, quia actio motoris numquam attribuitur moto. So remember, motor, moto. Motor is the mover, a motor is the mover, and a motum is the moved thing. So actio motoris numquam attribuitur moto. Nisi, unless sicut instrumento, sicut actio carpentarii serre. So he's saying, no, I don't think that's actually necessarily difficult Latin, so I don't know if I need to walk you through that one too much. Just serre is dative, worth noting. But his example is the way that you refer to the action of sawing and what's doing the sawing. Is it the saw or the carpenter? And obviously you can say it's both, but you mean it differently. That's what he's saying. He's saying that that's how a motor and a motum work. Si igitur intelligere attribuitur Socrati, quia est actio motoris eius. So if we're attributing something to Socrates because it's the action of his motor, then he is like the saw, is what this next one is. Sequitur quod attribuatur ei sicut instrumento. Quod is contra philosophum? Aristotle disagrees. This Aristotle, qui vult here, he holds, intends. Want is not a great way to translate it here. It's a rare use of the verb. It's Aristotle who maintains that intelligere non sit per instrumentum corporeum. And that's a definition from Aristotle. Well, it's from chapter 3 of On the Soul. And then quarto, our fourth reason that the soul cannot be the motor of the body. Quia licet, of course, being something like although, licet actio partes attribuatur toti, partis and totum, it's good, pars and totum, good words to know, the part and the whole. Licet actio partes attribuatur toti, ut actio oculi homini, nunquam tamen attribuitur alii parti nisi forte peracit. So, well, he's going to have this. Non enim dicimus quod manus videat, propter quod oculus videt. Propter quod, of course, being that same sort of because. So he's saying, you know, again, I don't know if there's a lot that I have to walk you through on that one. I don't want to just translate it for you. Just know alii parti is dative, homini is dative, things to keep in mind. Oculi being genitive. Si ergo ex intellectu et Socrate, dictamodo, fit unum. This x1, x2 fit unum just means there's a union between those two things. Actio intellectus non potest attribui Socrati, because it would be one part's actions being attributed to another part. Si vero Socrates est totum quod componitur ex unione intellectus ad reliquiae sunt Socrates. So he's saying, if, however, Socrates is a whole thing made up of these two bits, and intellectus non unitur aliis quae sunt Socrates, nisi sicut motor. So if these two things are true, if Socrates is this double thing, and one of the bits is united to the other as a motor, sequitur quod Socrates non sit unum simpliciter. Et per consequens nec ens simpliciter, because a motor and its motum cannot be the same thing. You cannot cause yourself. That's a fundamental truth. And so if by the word Socrates we mean this combination of a motor and its motum, then it cannot be one thing, because a motor and its motum cannot be one thing. Therefore, by the word Socrates, we would not mean a single being. We would actually mean a composite of beings, not just a composite of form and matter. The word Socrates would be being used kind of like, as I said before, the word family. By family, we don't mean one being. We mean a group of beings. That's what we would be saying about Socrates. All right, and there's your 4 reasons why the soul cannot be called the motor. Moving on, lines 25 to the end, is going to be sort of less refutation and more just sort of, here's some things that we know, sort of in conclusion. Relinquitur, there remains only, relinquitur ergo solus, modus quem Aristoteles ponet, quod hic homo intelligit, quia principium intellectivum est forma ipsius. He just lays it out. Nice, good sentence. Sic, ergo, ex ipsa operatione intellectus apparet quod, so because of blah blah blah, or from this thing, it appears that, or it is clear that, apparet quod, intellectivum principium unitur corpori ut forma. There's our grand statement. If you wanted to say, okay, what does Aquinas teach on this thing? There. What is highlighted there, that is the bare bones. Here's what he teaches. The rest is consequences of this. Potest etiam idem, the same, meaning the whole above statement, that thing that Aquinas teaches. Potest etiam idem manifestari, passive infinitive, ex ratione speciae humanae. Ratio here meaning like the notion, the idea of. We might even say that it's not really the definition, but it's the idea of. Natura enim unius cuiusque rei ex eius operatione ostenditur. He's explaining how we learn the nature of a thing. Propria autem operatio hominis, in quantum est homo, est intelligere. So He's saying, here's how we know the nature of things. It's by this operatio. Here is the operatio of this particular thing, homo. And it is intelligere. Per anc enim omnia animalia transcendit. So he's saying, here's something man is able to do because of this fact. Unde, therefore, et Aristoteles in libro etico, specifically it's the first book, in ac operatione, sicut in propria hominis, he's meaning intelligere, ultimam felicitatem constituit. Aristotle says that in this operation, this intelligere is the ultimum felicitatem, the ultimate fulfillment. I highly recommend reading Ethics Book 1. He does a great job of sort of laying it out. Oportet ergo quod homo secundum illud, hold secundum illud, speciem sortiatur quod. It would be easier, I think, to have worded it this way. Oportet ergo quod homo speciem sortiatur, secundum illud quod, because here's what goes together. According to that which is, etc. So it is necessary that man derive his species. So we know why man is man according to that which is, and he has it sort of worded funnily. Secundum illud quod est ujus operationis principium. Well, we just defined that as intelligere earlier. Sortitur autem unum quodque speciem per propriam formam. Relinquitur ergo quod intellectivum principium sit propria hominis forma. So because of how we define things and how we come to know them by their operations and how we define things by their principal operations, and because of what man's principal operation is, and because of the fact that a principal operation is always performed always comes from its proper form, we have learned the nature of the proper form of man, which is to say it is the intellectivum principium. Sed considerandum est quod, it is worth considering that, quanto forma est nobilior, tanto magis dominator materiae corporali. So quanto tanto, by how much, by this much. It's a as much as construction. We call this a correlative. And it's the ablative of degree of difference. So by how much the form is nobler than, by that same amount, magis dominator, it dominates more the materiae corporali. So the higher the form is in nobleness, the more it dominates material, bodily material. Et minus, so magis dominator et minus emergitur ei, et magis sua operatione virtute excedit eiam. So the higher it is, the more it does this, the less it does this, and the more it does this by means of this. Unde, therefore, videmus, maybe we find would be the best one that we see, we understand, quod forma mixti corporis abet aliquam operationem quae non causatur ex qualitatibus elementaribus. The qualitatibus elementaris, probably the qualitative elements. That's what it means, basic components. In Aquinas' day, that would have been hot, cold, dry, wet, the four elements. We would say maybe the physical properties. It's probably best understood as like the physical properties of something. So we understand that the form of a mixti corporis habet aliquam operationem quae non causator ex, these physical properties. Et, again, a quanto tanto, again, a quanto tanto, magis proceditur in nobilitate formarum, tanto magis invenitur virtus formae materiam elementarum excedere. Proceditur, worth noting, this is what we call the passive form of it. Let's say the passive, or the impersonal passive. An intransitive verb obviously can't really be passive because you can only make a passive verb out of something that has the object, because the whole point of a passive verb is that the object becomes the subject. Well, if you can't have an object, then how would you ever make a passive verb? Because your verb has to have a subject. Intransitive verbs like this, when we use a passive form of them, it sort of just talks about the sort of abstract action of the verb. So let's say something like vivit. You can't vivit something, you can't live a thing. So then what would vivitur mean? Well, vivitur would refer to the abstract happening of that thing. Living happens. So say something like post urbem, I don't know, post urbem ruinosum. So after the destruction of the city, ruendam. After the destruction of the city, autem vivitur. After the destruction of the city, however, living vivebatur. There was a living. A living happened. People were still alive. That's what it's getting at. So here it's proceditur. There is a proceeding. So as far as, or by as much as, magis proceditur, there is a procession higher in nobilitate formarum. So the higher, as we proceed into higher forms, tanto magis invenitur virtus, of course meaning power, not virtue but power, formae materiam elementarum excedere. So the more we do this, the more we see this happen. And then example time. Sicut anima vegetabilis plusquam forma metalli, et anima sensibilis plusquam anima vegetabilis. Anima autem humana est ultima, the highest in nobilitate formarum. Therefore, in tantum, in that far, so we saw in quantum, insofar as it is human, in tantum is in that far, again, quantum, tantum. So insofar as this is true, in that far, sua virtute excedit materiam corporalem. This quod abit aliquam, yes. Let me make sure I remember what that quote goes to immediately. Yes. Oh, that which. Probably. Okay, no, I understand. Sorry. Whence, in tantum sua virtute excedit materiam corporalem, excedit, what is doing this exceeding? Id quod abet aliquam. That is one big long noun, basically. Id quod abet aliquam operationem et virtutem in qua nulla modo communicat materia corporalis. That's one big long noun. All of that is what is exceeding sua virtute materiam corporalem. Et ec virtus dicitur intellectus. So, we're talking about how high, how the soul of the human, because it's so high, it has this neat ability. and we're going to call that ability the intellect. Est autem tendendum quod. This is just a nice little phrase, just something like, it's worth noting. One more thing that's, it's worth thinking about this as well. Si quis, here's again, after si, nisi, numen, ne, all the ali's drop away. So si quis means si aliquis, but we never use the ali in the aliquis after si. So si quis poneret animam componi ex materia et forma, nullo modo, in no way posit dicere animam esse formam corporis. So we have this one last thing to consider is, we've talked about, actually in the previous question, 75, he talks about this, is the soul made of both form and matter, the way that most things are made of form and matter. And he says, if we say that, then we cannot say animam esse formam corporis. Cum enim forma sit actus. Here's again that cum plus the subjunctive, having this sort of causal. Since enim forma sit actus, materia vero sit ens in potentia tantum. So, since one thing, but also this other thing, that's what vero is doing. So, since forma sit actus, materia vero sit ens in potentia tantum. So since both of those are true, nullo modo, id quod est ex materia et forma compositum, again one long noun, id quod est ex materia et forma compositum, potest esse alterius forma, secundum se tontem. So if these two things are true, then this can happen in no way. Alterius forma, secundum se totem, as a whole. Si autem secundum aliquid sui, but according to some part of it, sit forma, id quod est forma, dicimus anima, et id quies est forma, dicimus primum animatum, ut supra dictum est. So, if the soul is body and form, then it cannot, as an entirety, be the form of something else, because that which is material can never be the form of something else. If you really must say that the soul is form and matter, then insofar as it is form, we call it the soul. And insofar as it is matter, we would call that the primary animate, which just means that if the soul is form and matter, then the form is going to animate the matter of the soul before it animates anything else. And we call the matter of the soul the primary animate. I mean, I don't, because I don't call the soul both form and matter. But if one must have that, then there's this interesting way you can think about it, and he talks about it a little bit more in the Respondeo of question 75. You can read it there. It would take a long time, I think, for me to describe it, but ut supra dictum est, that means as was said above. That's question 75. It's in the Respondeo. It's in the first bit of the Respondeo of 75. So, okay, hopefully that walkthrough went well. You're able to read the whole Respondeo from question 76, which is one of his most famous sort of little passages here. So yeah, we'll see you later.